In the far reaches of the Outer Rim, beneath red skies and winds that whisper of forgotten wars, lies a world of tombs, a world long abandoned. This is a place of ancient power and long-buried secrets. For here began a story unseen by the galaxy at large, the story of those who rejected the light, embraced the darkness, and shaped history in ways no one expected. They called themselves the Sith. But they were not born in glory. They rose in exile. They built an empire from ashes, and they reshaped the Force itself. Before the Republic, before the Jedi stood watch, before the familiar face of evil that we know emerged, there was something deeper, older, hidden in the shadows. In this chapter, we travel to the beginning, to the schism that gave birth to the Sith, to the world of Korriban, to the exiled Jedi, and to the ancient species who called that world home. Because every myth has a beginning, and this one begins in darkness. It begins not with a battle, but with belief, a belief that the teachings of the Jedi were incomplete, that restraint and self-denial were shackles, not virtues. Among the stars, there were Jedi who questioned the Order's strict discipline, who believed that emotion, passion, power wielded with purpose were the true ways of the Force. These Jedi were cast out, exiled. They became wanderers. They became fugitives, and they carried with them something dangerous. The idea that peace was not the answer. Conflict was. Cut off from the light, they drifted into the unknown. Several found their way to a remote world in the Outer Rim, the planet Korriban, a desolate graveyard of ancient Sith tombs, ruins and memories of a species whose history predated even the Jedi. The native people of Korriban, the original Sith species, lived in a world steeped in the dark side, steeped in power struggles and rituals of strength. When the Dark Jedi exiles arrived, they did not simply conquer. They merged, they learned, they transformed. Over centuries, the term Sith came to mean not just the species, but the Order, a tradition forged in darkness, built on ambition and power. Late sources suggest that the species originated on Korriban and were eventually overwhelmed by the exiled Jedi, who used their knowledge of the dark side to become rulers of that world. And so from exile, the first Sith Order was born. Korriban, a name whispered among Force wielders as a place of power and peril. Located in the Outer Rim, its surface is scarred by wars, by tombs, by the echoes of those who sought dominion. Desert winds blow across red sands. Ancient pyramids stand silent. The Valley of the Dark Lords, a hollow monument to ambition. Here, the Sith species built a civilization based not on peace, but on power hierarchies, spiritual ritual, and mastery of the dark side. Early writings describe the planet as a desert graveyard where tombs outnumbered living beings. When the Dark Jedi exiles arrived, the world changed. Tombs became schools of dark knowledge. Temples rose from the sands, and a new order emerged, not just of a species, but of an ideology, of a philosophy. But what did they find in those tombs? What knowledge lay buried under the pyramids? What secrets did the native Sith guard? And what did the exiles steal, adapt, and reshape? The answer is lost in time, yet it echoes still in every red-bladed lightsaber, in every whisper of the dark side. Over many generations, the exiled Jedi and the native Sith species intermingled. Hybrid bloodlines, dark side alchemy, a fusion of Jedi Force knowledge and Sith sorcery. Some sources suggest that the term Sith shifted during this era, from a people to an order. In this crucible of darkness, a terrifying new form arose. Sith Lords who wielded power, who bent the Force to their will, who embraced conflict as their fuel. We begin to see the first true Dark Lords, names such as Ajunta Pall, once Jedi, now the first Dark Lord of the Sith. This era is hidden in the ashes of time, but its impact would echo for millennia. Because from this union of exiles and ancient power emerged an empire unlike any the galaxy had seen. As the Sith Order matured, they did not announce their presence to the galaxy at large. They built in secret, in the shadows of known space. Their empire would one day span countless worlds. But at this moment, they were consolidating power, training apprentices, erecting tombs, establishing rituals, testing the dark side. On Korriban, the tombs multiplied. On Korriban, the Sith Academy would eventually be founded. Few outside the Sith knew what was happening. To the Jedi, this was a forgotten chapter. To the Republic, a distant myth. But to the Sith, this was their founding. Quiet, hidden, lethal. And the galaxy would one day feel the full weight of what had begun here. But the story does not stop here. What began in exile, what took root on a grave world, would go on to challenge empires, tip the balance of the Force, and leave scars the galaxy still bears. In the next chapter, we will see how the Sith took their first giant steps outward, how the hidden became the overt, how the Empire of Shadows became an empire of stars. Until then, pause, look around you. The next time you see red sands, know that the Sith's roots lie deeper than you imagine, because in darkness, legends are born. From the silent tombs of Korriban, we now turn our gaze to a war that changed the galaxy. A war born of fear, ambition, and betrayal. A war so deep and so dark, it would be called the 100-Year Darkness. In its fires, the seeds of the Sith Order were truly sown. For generations, the exiled Jedi and the native Sith species built their uneasy alliance, forging tombs, mastering the whispers of the dark side in isolated worlds. But far beyond the desert world of Korriban, a storm was gathering. In the Galactic Republic's heart, the Jedi Order reigned supreme, yet even among its ranks, discontent stirred. Some Jedi believed the Order's teachings were too rigid, too passive, too complacent. They saw potential in what the light side forbade: raw emotion, unleashed power, conflict without bounds. When these Jedi were cast out, they became wanderers, experimenters of the forbidden. Their exile did not silence them, rather, it freed them to push the Force to darker corners, to question the very nature of power. And so, under the veneer of peace, the darkness grew. Around 7000 BBY in Legends continuity, the conflict known as the 100-Year Darkness erupted. A catastrophic war between the Jedi Order and a faction of rogue Jedi who embraced the dark side wholly. These rogue Jedi did not simply wield power, they transformed it. They twisted the Force into weapons of life and death, creating monstrous armies, shamblers, howlers, pit horrors, even leviathans that drained life essence itself. At the heart of it, the Jedi saw a threat not just to their order, but to the galaxy. The exiles were developing dark techniques the Jedi had long forbidden. The Republic trembled as worlds burned. On the final battlefield of this war stood the world of Korbos. There, the Dark Jedi made their last stand, and were defeated. And yet defeat did not mean extinction. It meant exile. It meant transformation. Banished from Republic space, these survivors drifted into the unknown. The Jedi believed they had cast out a threat. They did not realize they had directed it toward fresh soil. The exiles found what few knew, the planet of Korriban, home to the ancient Sith species, a Force-rich world steeped in darkness, rife with tombs and power. On this world, the exiles did not simply hide. They conquered. They overthrew Khan Hakagram Grouch and claimed the title Lords of the Sith. Among them stood a figure, Ajunta Pall, once a Jedi, now the first Dark Lord of the Sith. By his will, the seeds of the new order were sown. The exiles, combined with the native Sith, created something new. The term Sith shifted meaning. No longer simply a race, but an ideology, a tradition of power. In the gloom of Korriban's valleys, the Sith Order was born. As the exiles made their home on Korriban, the seeds of something greater took root. A civilization not just of survival, but of dominion. Over centuries they matured, transformed, grew from hidden exile to open empire. This was the dawn of the first Sith Empire. Under Dark Lord Naga Sadow, the Sith shifted from guardians of tombs to masters of war. He launched an audacious invasion of Republic space, a bold strike from the shadows into the light. With fleets born of dark-side sorcery, the Sith marched. Moss-choked worlds burned, frontier systems collapsed, and the Jedi realized the threat was no longer exiled, it was advancing. But every empire carries the seed of its downfall. Internal power struggles, hubris, and the Jedi counterstrike forced the Sith to retreat into the unknown. Their empire fractured, scattered, yet the legacy remained. The question that haunted the galaxy, what force had they unleashed, and could it ever truly be destroyed? The 100-Year Darkness was over. The exiles were exiled. The Republic declared victory. But victory can blind. In the tombs of Korriban, in the rituals of the Sith, lay knowledge unspoken by the Jedi, dark secrets of the Force, ancient rites of domination, hybrid bloodlines, melding exiled Jedi and native Sith. These would echo throughout millennia. What the Jedi thought they ended only changed form. What the Republic declared contained only hid. And so we leave this chapter with one question. What happens when the light refuses to answer, and the dark side writes its own beginning. An empire in ruins, a doctrine betrayed, a secret forged in fear. The greatest era of the Sith had ended, but from the ashes of defeat arose a new design, a new way forward. This is the story of how the Sith ceased to rule openly, and instead became the silent blade in the night. In this chapter, we explore the collapse of the old Sith Order, the dark genius of Darth Bane, and the birth of the Rule of Two. For millennia, the Sith had built empire upon empire. They had arisen on worlds like Korriban, marched against the Republic, drawn on the dark side to create unimaginable power. But their very nature, ambition unrestrained, betrayal within their ranks, left them vulnerable. The new Sith wars, internal strife, power grabs among Dark Lords, all of it weakened the Sith Order from within. According to lore, after the Battle of Ruusan in Legends continuity, the Sith were believed to have been destroyed, their forces scattered, their secrets buried. The Jedi declared victory, the galaxy breathed easier, the Sith seemed lost. But the Sith do not fade quietly. And from their near extinction arose a new strategy, one that would render them unseen, yet more dangerous than ever. Into this void entered Darth Bane, once a warrior of the old order, now a survivor of its collapse. Bane saw clearly what the Sith had become, an army of overambitious lords, eating themselves from within. He realized the old model was flawed, so he devised the doctrine that would change the Sith forever. The Rule of Two. One master, one apprentice. No more. Two to embody power and to crave it. The reason? Control, focus, survival. Bane believed that with many Sith vying for dominance, the path to chaos was inevitable. So he trimmed the Order down to its bare essence. The master held the power. The apprentice hungered for it. And when the time came, the apprentice would oust the master, take the mantle, and begin anew. Bane's strategy allowed the Sith to hide in the shadows, to plot across generations. The war armies were gone, the open empires were gone, but the potential for revenge remained. And thus the Sith transformed from rulers of worlds to whispers in the dark. With the Rule of Two as foundation, the Sith embarked on what some call the Grand Plan. Slow, methodical, hidden, they infiltrated politics, manipulated events, played for time. For nearly 1,000 years the Sith remained hidden. Only the most dedicated scholars of the Jedi even suspected their survival. Yet the incarnations of the Sith, master and apprentice, tended to the long game. The stories of apprentices who killed their masters became the dark ritual of the Order. Each generation increased in strength. Secrets of alchemy, dark side sorcery, manipulation of life and death, they flourished. The Sith were no longer numerous, but they were refined. By the time the Republic creaked and old alliances frayed, the Sith were ready. Their shadow had grown into a blade aimed at the heart of the light. With the old armies broken, the great fleets destroyed or scattered, the Darth Bane set into motion a radical rethink of Sith strategy. Not fleets, not open war, but stealth, patience, and one apprentice. He decreed what would become known as the Rule of Two, Only two Sith Lords can exist at any time, one master to harbor power, and one apprentice to crave it. When the apprentice grows strong enough, they overthrow the master. Then the cycle begins anew. Why such a harsh reduction? Bane observed the old Sith Order's downfall. Legions of Sith Lords, each vying for dominance, turning on each other until the Jedi could strike. The rule of two was his solution. Eliminate internal war, hide from detection, channel ambition into one relationship. The master trains the apprentice. The apprentice becomes the master, and a new apprentice is found. The power grows, purifies, refines. The Sith become a precision weapon rather than a blunt army. Yet, from the beginning there was tension. Masters distrusted apprentices. Apprentices coveted masters. Both waited for the moment of overthrow. This tension became part of the Sith identity. The rule of two states that there would be only two Sith at a time, a master and an apprentice, guaranteeing that when the apprentice becomes powerful enough, they become the master. For nearly a millennium following the Reform, the Sith lived in shadows. They became myth. They became whispers among the Jedi. Yet they were always there. Although the Sith ceased overt rule, their legacy haunted the galaxy. Temples built in the old days, holocrons sealed away, lineages whispered among only the darkest corners of the Force. The rule of two became fetishized. Scholars debated if every Sith adhered to it, whether some dark side users claimed the title without the title, or used hidden apprentices. And still, there remained unanswered questions. What happened to all of the Sith artifacts hidden during the collapse? What Sith apprentices worked in secret, far beyond known space? Could the Sith truly be destroyed, or would they wait for the perfect moment to rise again? In the next chapter, we will see how the Sith emerged from the shadows and orchestrated the fall of the Republic itself. The tombs of ancient Sith lie silent. The era of open conquest ended, and yet the darkness did not fade. For centuries, the Sith hid, refined, waited. And then, at the height of the Republic, they emerged, not as armies, but as whispers. Not as conquerors, but as manipulators. In this chapter, we follow the secret rise of the Sith, how they infiltrated the Republic, undermined the Jedi, and prepared for their greatest strike yet. By the time of the late Old Republic era, in Legends continuity, and into the prequel era of canon, the Sith no longer marched openly across the stars. Their fleets were gone, their empires collapsed, but their ambition remained. The doctrine of the rule of two allowed them to survive. One master, one apprentice. Quiet, patient, hidden. One of the most infamous examples is Darth Plagueis, the Mune Sith Lord who manipulated galactic banking, politics, and even the life and death of midichlorians in his quest for power. Under Plagueis's guidance, the Sith infiltrated the Republic's financial sectors, mastering influence rather than warships. The Jedi sensed changes, but they did not see the hand behind the mask. Meanwhile, galactic conflicts such as the Clone Wars were being stoked, funds being shifted, loyalties corrupting. The Sith's battlefield was the mind, the Senate, the brokered deal. This was manipulation refined. Into the shadow cast by Plagueis stepped Darth Sidious, born Sheev Palpatine. apprentice, inheritor, executor. Under his hand, the Republic would fall, and the Sith would rule openly once more. Palpatine's plan was elegant. He orchestrated the war that would call the Jedi away, stretch the Republic thin, and create emergency powers that would be abused. The very institutions the Jedi believed in were turned against them. He leaned on the Sith philosophy. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. While the Jedi fought clone armies, Sidious moved quietly, installing loyalists, manipulating banking clans, altering legislation, planting seeds of dissent. By the time the Jedi realized the war was a trap, it was too late. In the vast tapestry of the Sith's hidden history, rarely has a single individual carried more weight than Anakin Skywalker. A child of prophecy, a Jedi Knight, a hero of the Clone Wars, and ultimately the dark emblazoned Sith Lord known as Darth Vader. His rise was not a sharp turn, but a long descent, woven with fear, love, ambition, and betrayal. In this section, we trace the pivotal journey of Anakin, from innocence to darkness, and ask, how did the Jedi's shining hope become the Sith's ultimate weapon? Born on the desert world of Tatooine, Anakin Skywalker was discovered by Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn when the boy's raw Force sensitivity exceeded all expectations. The prophecy of the Chosen One, destined to bring balance to the Force, was placed upon him. But Anakin's early life was not one of Jedi serenity. A slave separated from his mother, haunted by visions of loss. His mechanical genius, his emotional intensity, both signs of extraordinary power and extraordinary vulnerability. The Jedi Council reluctantly agreed to train him under Obi-Wan Kenobi, despite their fear that his attachment and fear of loss would lead him astray. The stage was set. With the onset of the Clone Wars, Anakin rose swiftly, General of the Republic, hero of innumerable battles. Yet each victory carried a cost: the toll of war, the sacrifice of innocence. His secret marriage to Padme Amidala, his fierce attachment, his hatred of slavery rooted in his own past, all converged. The death of his mother at the hands of Tusken Raiders triggered one of his darkest moments, a massacre born of grief and rage. These moments chipped away at his Jedi facade. Meanwhile, the mastermind behind the scenes, Darth Sidious, whispered promises of power, of control over life and death. The Sith's long plan was playing its hand. Anakin's fear of loss, his desire to protect Padme, became his chains. The turning point came in the final days of the Republic. Sidious revealed himself as the Sith Lord. Anakin's loyalty fractured. The Jedi Council did not trust him, withheld rank and insight, while Palpatine offered what the Jedi could not: answers, power, freedom. In the pivotal moment on Mustafar, Anakin's faith shattered. He betrayed the Jedi, slaughtered younglings in the temple, and declared his allegiance to the dark side. At this moment, he took the name Darth Vader. He ceased to be Anakin and became the sword of the Sith. Yet, his transformation was not complete. The duel with Obi-Wan left him maimed, his body broken, his spirit chained to the black armor and helmet that became his prison and his symbol. Emerging from the lava fields of Mustafar, Vader's rebirth was literal and symbolic. A life-sustaining suit of cybernetics, a crimson lightsaber, a vow of loyalty to the Emperor. The Sith holocrons suggest that Vader's first acts were not only to hunt remaining Jedi, but to reshape the Sith Order for a new age, one of dominance, fear, totalitarian rule. The weapon had become the wielder. Many believe that Darth Vader was where the Sith's long game finally bore fruit. The hidden became the overt, the cloak of manipulation removed, the armor of war donned. Even as a Sith Lord, Vader's internal conflict raged. The echoes of Anakin's hope, his love for Padme, his attachment to the Jedi past, all haunted him. His outward power masked an inward torment. The comics and novels, both canon and legends, reveal how Vader's first years saw him hunting Jedi, consolidating power, and beginning the Empire's reign. But his greatest victory was not in battle. It was in becoming the instrument of the Sith. The Order's rule of two, long dormant, had produced a master who ruled not from shadows, but from command. The Sith had rewritten destiny. And yet, the question remains, was Anakin ever truly the Sith's instrument? Or did he become his own force of nature? Did the Sith shape him, or did he shape the Sith? In the end, Vader's story carries the deepest paradox of the dark side. In gaining power, he lost himself. In serving the Sith, he became the greatest threat to the Sith's future redemption. In the next section, we will move beyond this turning point, beyond the rise, and explore how the Sith ruled openly, how their legacy dominated the galaxy, and how cracks began to appear. Because even the blackest armor can reflect light. In the final hours of the Republic, the Sith gambled on boldness. Operation Order 66, the betrayal of the Jedi by their own clone troops, was not just a military strike. It was the culmination of decades of manipulation and infiltration. The Jedi Temple fell. Masters were slaughtered. The Republic transformed into the Galactic Empire. The dark hour of the Sith had arrived. The Sith had played the long game. By placing one apprentice under Republic face, by hiding the master in politics, by making the Republic its own undoing. But even in victory, the Sith knew the danger of complacency. Their new era would not rely solely on open rule. Hidden in the collapse of the Jedi and Republic were artifacts the Sith held dear. Sith holocrons, ancient temple ruins, pieces of knowledge long thought lost. The Sith used these tools not only for power, but for memory. Their lineage, their teachings, their long-buried secrets. For example, the holocron of Freeden Nad, the tombs of Yavin 4, the ancient Sith alchemy manuals, all became sources of raw power and manipulation. The Sith manipulated not just people, but history itself. The Jedi believed themselves guardians of knowledge. The Sith became masters of forgotten knowledge. Having taken control of the Republic's core, the Sith now faced a new challenge, ruling an empire built on lies and fear. The tools of manipulation became the tools of governance. From the Senate to the imperial bureaucracy, from the Inquisitorius to secret cults, the Sith found new avenues to power. Yet even then, the internal conflict of the Sith continued. The apprentice hungered for the master's seat. Secretly, Sith Lords prepared for betrayal, even in victory. As though the old pattern of self-destruction needed to be honored. The galaxy saw the rule of the Sith, but they didn't see the knowledge hidden beneath the throne. The Sith had risen from the shadows, seized the throne, and shattered the Jedi's legacy. But this is not the end of their story, because even in victory, they remained vulnerable. Their empire built on fear could collapse. Their secrets could be rediscovered. Their legacy could be reborn. In the next chapter, we will explore how the Sith ruled openly, how they faced defeat, and how their legacy survived beyond the fall of their empire. Until then, remember, the greatest dominance is not won with a blade, but with the silence behind the blade. A master plan matured. A predator long hidden stepped into the open. The Sith no longer lurked in the shadows. They rose to rule. This is the story of Dominion, how the Sith Order crossed from covert ambition to overt empire, how they shook the galaxy to its core, and how the seeming invincible was finally undone. In this chapter, we explore the age of the Sith's visible reign, their peak of power, and the final downfall that reshaped everything once again. After centuries of hidden schemes, the Sith seized their moment. The Republic's institutions were weakened by war, heritage by crisis, trust by betrayal. Under Darth Sidious's hand, the Republic was transformed into the Galactic Empire, a government built on fear, obedience, and the rule of the dark side. The Purge of the Jedi, Operation 66, was the final stroke in the long game. With the Jedi eliminated and the Senate rearranged, the Sith emerged from shadows to throne. The Sith Empire's might was industrial, ideological, unstoppable. As one historian of the dark side put it, the Sith Order was an ancient religious order of Force wielders devoted to the dark side of the Force. The Sith used the dark side of the Force through severe negative emotions. Worlds bowed, entire species enslaved. Sith temples erected in the core, the rim, and beyond. The Sith's dominion was absolute, or so it seemed. Rule by the Sith was not just a matter of military might. It was ideology in motion. The Sith Code declared, "Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. The Force shall free me." Under this creed, the Empire built systems of control, fear, propaganda, indoctrination. The dark side permeated society. Apprentices of the Sith seduced power. Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, became both symbol and executioner. His crimson blade, his black armor, became the terror of the galaxy. Sith holocrons, Sith temples, Sith artifacts, the legacy of millennia built on Korriban and beyond, were repurposed into symbols of dominance. The Sith did more than rule. They rewrote reality. The Jedi were erased. The dark side was proclaimed inevitable. This profound assertion of dominion was more dangerous than any fleet. While the films give us the key moments of Anakin's fall and Vader's rise, the comics offer a deeper dive into his transformation, his secrets, his conflicts, and how the Sith Order used him in new ways. In this section, we explore his journey through comic book lore, his hidden motives, unseen battles, and how the dark side of the Sith manifested in his every action. In the canonical comic series Star Wars: Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, the story begins 1 second after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Vader wakes in his new black armor, more machine than man, his body broken, his soul in turmoil. He must adapt, not just physically, but mentally. This moment captures the bitter birth of the Sith Lord, the armor, the mask, the new identity. He is no longer Anakin Skywalker. He is the weapon of the Sith. The comic emphasizes what the films hint at: the loss of humanity, the agony of transformation, the sudden shift from Jedi to monster under the mantle of the dark side. As the Sith had long planned, the new order of the Sith saw Vader as its executioner. The comic arc shows him hunting surviving Jedi, leading the Inquisitorius, dark side operatives trained to root out the remnants of the light. In this narrative, Vader's role is both weapon and enforcer. He is the embodiment of the Sith's long game, hidden no more, yet still deeply tied to secrecy, to subterranean strategy. He visits wrecked Jedi temples, uncovers hidden holocrons, confronts ex-Jedi who thought themselves safe. These stories deepen the lore of the Sith, not merely conquerors, but purgers, archivists of darkness. One particularly potent thread in the comics explores Vader's unresolved emotions regarding Padme Amidala. In the series Star Wars Darth Vader, an issue opens with Vader arriving on her tomb planet of Naboo, seeking answers about their past and the existence of their children. The Sith Lord, supposedly the embodiment of the dark side, walks into personal tragedy. In doing so, the comic reveals more than battles. It reveals the cracks in the Sith's armor. Vader's connection with Padme becomes a hidden vulnerability exploited by the Sith Masters. The Sith philosophy demands power, control, dominance. But these stories show that emotional bonds can lead even a Sith Lord into deeper darkness. Even as Vader serves Emperor Palpatine, the comics emphasize the internal politics of the Sith. In the arc where Vader is stripped of some of his life support machinery as punishment, he learns the Emperor's secrets and realizes his own position is far more precarious than he ever admitted. This reflects the ancient Sith pattern: betrayal, ambition, the apprentice longing to overthrow the master. The comics show us the rule of two in action: the Sith Lord under the master, always plotting, always waiting. For the Sith Order, Vader is not just a weapon. He is a test, an experiment, a symbol. His rise mirrors the Sith's shift from overt empire to hidden puppet masters. Vader's search later becomes even more personal and existential. He pursues the truth of his son, his former self, the Sith's hidden powers. He battles paranormal threats, checks tombs, uncovers ancient Sith artifacts. For example, on Tatooine he pursues criminals who hid Luke's existence. He faces off against dark side entities that even the Sith feared. His quest is no longer only loyalty to the Emperor. It is self-realization and revenge. The Sith Order planted centuries of secrets. Vader is uncovering them. But in doing so, he risks the very control the Sith prized. What does this long comic arc tell us about the Sith Order itself? First, the Sith use individuals as instruments, but those individuals can become instruments of change. Vader's story is part of the Ancient Order's legacy. The exiles on Korriban, the empire builders, the hidden manipulators, the enforcers. Next, the comics show us the longevity of the Sith strategy. The Order's patience, its willingness to hide, its use of artifacts and lineage, all manifested through Vader's journey. Finally, the tension between power and legacy. Vader is powerful, but his power is indebted to legacy, to prior Sith Lords, to ancient rituals, to hidden knowledge. The Sith Order is never just about the present. It is about the past, the secrets, the dark continuity. In the next chapter, we will move beyond this personal saga to explore how the Sith ruled openly in Empire, how the galaxy broke them, and how the hidden lines of the Sith survived beyond the visible fall. For the Sith do not end, they evolve. Absolute power breeds absolute decay. The Sith Empire's reign was marked by conquest, but also by excess, corruption, and resistance. Slave labor, terror weaponry, kyber crystal superweapons, these were the hallmarks of a regime confident in its strength. The ancient Sith empires had relied on mass fleets and hordes. Now the Galactic Empire built mass production, the industrialization of fear. Rebellion stirred in the shadows. The spark was lit by the oppressed, the hunted, the Jedi survivors. The galaxy's break from the Sith began not with a grand battle, but in small acts of defiance. The smuggler refusing to submit, the soldier defecting, the citizen daring to dream of a republic reborn. The Sith crushed uprisings, but each victory cost them something: legitimacy. Every world enslaved was a testament to fear, not loyalty. And fear cannot hold forever. While the galaxy trembled under the Sith's rule, the Order's ancient flaws resurfaced. Betrayal, overreach, arrogance, the same patterns that had destroyed earlier Sith empires, re-emerged. The apprentice coveted the master. The master feared betrayal. Sith Lords manipulated, schemed, and plotted against each other. The rule of two, designed to refine strength, also concentrated conflict. At the peak of their power, the Sith were vulnerable. Secret cracks ran through the Empire's edifice. Senior officers began to question the cost, workers to resent the oppression, systems to fail under the weight of control. The Jedi may have been hunted, but their ideas were not dead. Hope took root in hidden cells, not in temples. And hope is a seed that fear cannot entirely destroy. Hidden behind the throne of the Empire, buried beneath tomb worlds and buried in time, lie the true tools of the Sith, artifacts of power, knowledge distilled into objects, waiting for hands bold enough to claim them. Among these, the most feared and coveted are the Sith holocron. These dark side data caches were not mere memory banks. They were repositories of centuries of Sith wisdom, ritual, sorcery, domination. The holocron's shape marks its heritage. Unlike the cube of the Jedi, the Sith holocron often took a tetrahedral or pyramid form. Its black or crimson crystal filled with lattices of dark side energy. The making of a Sith holocron was no simple engineering feat. Ancient texts speak of the ritual of invocation, the capstone crystal, the mastery of dark side will required just to keep it stable. In some accounts, the capstone housed the consciousness of the Sith Lord, an echo of their will, as much teacher as object. The inscriptions foretold in umbris potestas est, which translates to, in shadows there is power. These devices were not merely for storage, they were active, keys to hidden doors, to ancient vaults, to knowledge the Jedi had long deemed forbidden. Throughout the galaxy, halls of tombs and vaults lie waiting. On Malachor, beneath the shattered temple, the holocron sat ready to power a death weapon, The Jedi attacked the world petrified. On Korriban, in the Valley of the Dark Lords, the tombs of Sith Masters held holocrons and artifacts, each one a whisper of power, a trap for the unwary. The Sith didn't simply hide weapons, they hid knowledge, and knowledge, in their view, was the greatest weapon of all. The Jedi archives speak in hushed tones of recovered holocrons, some imprisoned, some studied, many destroyed. But always one terrifying truth: the Sith's legacy never fully died. A single artifact could tip balance. A holocron uncovered might resurrect old Sith techniques, and with them fresh threats. As the Empire rose, the Sith scattered these artifacts. As the Empire fell, the artifacts became seeds for future darkness. These artifacts, a holocron, a lightsaber crystal, a tomb sealed for millennia, hold more than the dead past. They hold the promise, the fear, the potential of what the Sith might yet become. In the next chapter, we will move beyond visible conquests into the hidden lines of the Sith, cults, off-grid orders, the unknown regions where the darkness waits. Because when you know the history of the Sith, you realize their true weapon is not the blade, it is the secret behind the blade. The moment of reckoning arrived in the Outer Rim on the forest moon of Endor. The Sith's final empire, built on terror and conquest, faced its mirror: courage, sacrifice, and redemption. The Death Star's destruction, the Emperor's fall, Darth Vader's redemption, these were the visible threads of the collapse. But the real story is deeper. The Sith's centuries of planning culminated, and then their empire collapsed in hours. The myth of invincibility shattered. The Sith lost not because they were weaker, but because their dominance left them exposed. With the Emperor's death, the Sith Order's rule ended, yet the dark side did not vanish. The legacy survived. Even after the throne of the Sith fell, their shadow did not. Artifacts hidden, temples dormant, cults lingering in the unknown sectors. The galaxy entered a new age, but the dark side of the Force remained active. New dark side users, new orders, not the Sith in name, but the Sith in effect. The great historian of the Jedi wrote, "What the Sith reclaimed in shame, they passed on in secrecy." The question remains, who now carries the torch? What new darkness rises from the ashes? In the next chapter, we will journey beyond visible galactic battles into the hidden lines, secret cults, forgotten legacies of the Sith. Because the end is never truly the end, only a transformation. When the major battles end and the empires fall, what remains is not always swept away into oblivion. Some things end, some things hide, and some things wait. The Sith's story does not conclude at the downfall of their empire. It evolves in the margins, in the forgotten tombs, in the unknown regions of space. In this chapter, we explore the legacy of the Sith, the hidden lines of power, the cults that kept the flame alive, the artifacts that slept for millennia, and the mysteries the galaxy has yet to fully uncover. The death of an empire does not always mean the death of its ideology. The Sith, defeated in the open, retreated into shadows, but they did not vanish. Consider the Sith eternal, a cult of Sith loyalists who built their base on the secluded world of Exegol within the unknown regions. These fanatics preserved Sith holocrons, cloning facilities, weapons of terror. They were not simply survivors, they were gardeners of the dark side, sowing seeds for a future rise. Off-grid Sith also existed in other fringe realms, rogue lordlings, hidden apprentices, and planets where the dark side remained strong though the Sith Order formally ended. These hidden lines challenge the idea that the Sith died. They suggest instead that the Sith went underground, became underground, and waited for the right moment. Even when the great empires of the Sith crumbled in plain sight, another kind of power remained, hidden, loyal, unwavering. This power found its home on a forgotten world, shrouded from the star charts. A world where the legacy of the Sith Order did not end, it simply went underground. This is the story of the Sith Eternal, of the secret bastions of the dark side, and of the worlds where the Sith waited for their moment to re-emerge. The planet Exegol lies in the remote, unknown regions. It does not appear on most star charts. Its skies crackle with static lightning, fissures cut deep into its crust. It was long regarded as a myth among Force users. Exegol served as the secret seat of the Sith Eternal, a place where the dark side of the Force was cultivated away from the eyes of the galaxy. The cultists built hidden shipyards, laboratories, and vaults beneath the surface. Here, the Sith did not seek to rule openly, at least not yet. They sought to gather, prepare, wait. Deep underground vats, ancient statues of Dark Lords, corridors lit by crimson holocron light. The Sith Eternal were not simply followers, they were devoted acolytes of the dark side, building the infrastructure for the Sith's return. According to the databank entry on the Sith Eternal, on the lost world of Exegol, Sith cultists gather to venerate the ancient Sith Order and swear fealty to the current Sith Lord. These cultists raised children in hidden shipyards, maintained fleets of star destroyers, and guarded Sith artifacts. Their purpose? Ensure the Sith would rise again, when the time was right. How many hidden apprentices, hidden masters, hidden Sith lines exist in silence? Cloaked figures, throne room of the Sith Citadel, exhumed tombs littered with Sith paraphernalia. The story of the Sith Eternal is the story of patience. After the fall of the Empire, many thought the Sith were finished. But the Sith Eternal knew better. They prepared in the darkness. The unknown regions, remote and unmapped, offered sanctuary. The Sith used these frontiers to rebuild, to hide, to craft new weapons and orders beyond the jurisdiction of the Jedi or the New Republic. According to lore, the Sith Eternal's infrastructure on Exegol included Zyston-class Star Destroyer factories, cloning vats, and fleets hidden from prying eyes. And so we ask, if the Sith could hide for a millennium, what might still be hidden now? Star maps showing blank sectors, hyperspace anomalies, tombs in remote corners of the galaxy. We have seen the visible history of the Sith, the empires, the battles, the end. But now we venture into the hidden, the bases, the cults, the future. In our next section, we delve deeper into the artifacts and tomb worlds of the Sith, the holocrons, the wayfinders, the secrets buried beneath the sands. Because for the Sith, the darkest power lies not in what the galaxy sees, but in what it cannot. Beneath the sands of worlds like Korriban/Moraband, in derelict temples, in vaults sealed by Sith Lords long gone, lie artifacts charged with the dark side. Holocrons, Sith lightsaber crystals, tombs of Dark Lords, secret wayfinders into the unknown regions. The unknown regions themselves bear strange routes and hidden gateways, the tangle of hyperspace anomalies that even the Sith found challenging. One fact, the planet Ilum, famous for Jedi kyber crystal excavations, lies partially within the unknown regions. A holocron found on a remote moon might teach Sith alchemy or dark rituals never taught in the days of the Empire. When the Jedi believe the threat is gone, these artifacts may still whisper. These tombs and artifacts, they are not just relics of a past era. They are the seeds of the next. The unknown regions are the great blank spot on the galactic map, regions that evade exploration, full of hazards, anomalies, and secrets. Imperial records show probes lost, fleets vanished, routes warped by strange phenomena. In this frontier, the Sith found refuge and opportunity. Within those regions, we find the story of the Sith not as rulers, but as survivors, establishing bases, reclaiming lost knowledge, building new orders. The Sith's greatest strength, secrecy, found its perfect sanctuary there. One chilling detail, the Sith's wayfinders, ancient Sith artifacts, aided navigation through the tangle of hyperspace in the unknown regions. The unknown regions are not simply a frontier. They are the Sith's wild card. In the shadows of the Sith's grand history lies an isolated story, almost forgotten. A story of a tribe of Sith marooned, cut off, yet fiercely ambitious. This is the tale of the lost tribe of the Sith, and one of their critical rebellions, as told in Lost Tribe of the Sith, Spiral. On a remote world called Kesh, in wild space, thousands of years ago, a vessel of Sith exiles crashed. These lords and apprentices were cast away from the main order, forced to survive in isolation. The tribe they built was a microcosm of Sith ambition. Yet even in isolation, the nature of the Sith did not change. Power was still the currency. Ambition still flourished. Rivalry still consumed. In Spiral, we see this in action. The lost tribe were not simply forgotten Sith. They were survivors, warriors, schemers. Their crash landing on Kesh meant they had no allies, no backing from the distant Sith Order. They had to carve their dominion from the wild. On Kesh they built the city of Tav, constructed their temple over the remains of the Ship of Destiny. They created their hierarchy: Tyros, apprentices, sabers, masters, lords, high lords, and a grand lord at the apex. But life under the tribal Sith regime was harsh. Flaws, scars, deformities, all counted against those who sought advancement. Strength, cunning, ambition were rewarded. Power came at a price. In the Spiral comic arc, key figures drive the narrative. One is Spinner, a slave turned aspirant Sith rebel who seeks to overturn the caste system of the tribe. The other is Princess Takara, a noble of the tribe's ruling class, smart, ambitious, and with her own agenda. Spinner is arrested for treason, exiled via a prisoner vessel. Yet on board, he discovers a long-forgotten Sith weapon, an artifact of tremendous power. Takara becomes his unlikely ally and rival as they quest to reshape their world. Their story is one of betrayal, rebellion, hidden knowledge. In other words, classic Sith behavior. The lost weapon Spinner uncovers is more than a tool, it is a key to both freedom and destruction. In Sith doctrine, knowledge is power. Here, the knowledge of old Sith weaponry becomes that power. As the tribe learns of the threat, the ruling circle of lords must respond. But can they respond quickly enough? The conflict escalates. Civil war within the tribe, the throne challenged, traditions broken. The story reveals how even isolated Sith societies are susceptible to the same corruptions and cycles of betrayal that plagued the grand Sith empires. Though the Lost Tribes story occurs far from the major galactic events, it resonates. It highlights core themes of the Sith: exile, ambition, power structures, hidden weapons, the inevitability of betrayal. It echoes the grander framework of the Order's history. The story reminds us, whether on tomb worlds like Korriban, in the halls of Empire, or on isolated planets like Kesh, the Sith Order repeatedly confronted the same questions. Who holds power? Who betrays? What ancient weapon might tip the balance? Fallen though the Sith might appear, the dark side adapts. After the fall of the Empire, new dark side orders and threats surfaced, tied to Sith heritage yet distinct. The First Order, for example, launched from the unknown regions, supported in part by Sith legacy artifacts and networks. The Sith Eternal cult attempted a resurgence, assembling an armada known as the Final Order on Exegol. These are not simply echoes of the past. They are proof that the Sith's legacy is a living threat. The lesson? Defeat in open war does not erase ideology. It forces reinvention. So much of the Sith's story remains unfinished. Hidden temples unexcavated, holocrons unopened, world systems unmapped, apprentices uncounted. Consider this. The Sith Order's official timeline lists their last known members as being defeated at the Battle of Exegol, 35 ABY. But can you ever truly defeat the Sith? When tombs still stand, when artifacts remain, when hidden orders persist. The final question becomes, where will the next Sith line emerge? From the unknown regions? From a forgotten holocron? From someone who reads the Sith's secrets and takes them further? Because for the Sith, the end is never the end. It is simply a new beginning. The collapse of a Sith Empire may end the rule, but it does not end the relics. The darkness of the Sith lingers in what they left behind: artifacts, wayfinders, holocrons, tombs. These aren't merely memories of power. They are power. In this section, we explore how the Sith Order encoded their legacy into objects, how those objects shaped the future, and why they still matter. Among the most dangerous artifacts of the Sith are the holocrons, pyramidal or tetrahedral crystals carrying the knowledge of Dark Lords long gone. These hold rituals, secrets, even contingency plans. Equally insidious are the Jedi and Sith wayfinders, navigation devices steeped in lore. The region known as the Unknown Regions, for example, is navigable only by methods many lost or fear. As the archives say, many routes were discovered by Sith wayfinders and Force-sensitive navigators. Consider the cult known as the Sith Eternal, who protected artifacts such as the Blade of Ochi of Bestoon and Sith wayfinders. The significance? A holocron or wayfinder does more than recall history. It can redirect destiny. The worlds of the Sith are littered with tombs and temples. On Korriban/Moraband, on Yavin 4, on secret planets within the unknown regions, artifacts lie hidden. The danger? The Sith built not only for now, but for eons. Their vaults were meant to guard their legacy and challenge anyone who followed. The Sith may fade, but their tombs endure. Here's the chilling question. If the Sith left behind weapons of their will, what remains unfound? Some artifacts have been recovered, others destroyed, or so it seems. But consider this. In the unknown regions, maps are incomplete. Some holocrons may still exist. Some wayfinders may still guide secret fleets. The Sith's greatest endgame was never solely conquest. It was legacy. The Sith may be defeated in the open, but in their vaults and artifacts they survive. What relic might tip the balance next? Which holocron lies waiting in a tomb no Jedi knows exists? We have peeled away the layers of history. The rule, the fall, the hidden survivors. But the story does not end here. What remains buried may yet rise. In our next exploration, we turn to the what-ifs, the lost Sith Orders of the Legends continuity, the alternate dark lines, the possible future of the Sith in the galaxy. Because as long as shadows exist, so too does the chance that the Sith will return. Over the past hour, we have journeyed together through millennia of darkness. From the exile of Jedi who dared defy the light, to the red sands of Korriban. From immense empires brimming with power, to the near downfall of the Sith and the rebirth of a new strategy. From shadowy manipulation to the explosive rise of an empire. And from the fall of that empire to the hidden corners where the Sith waited in silence. This is the tale of the Sith Order, ruthless, ambitious, eternal. But what does it all mean? What lessons lie beneath the glint of a red lightsaber, the echo of Sith chanting in a tomb, the smile of a dark-sided master? Let us reflect. Ambition and power. The Sith believed that power was the ultimate truth, that restraint was weakness, emotion was fuel, conflict was the catalyst. Their code told them peace is a lie. They sought dominion, not just survival. Cycle and betrayal. Time and again, the same pattern repeated. Many Sith, internal war, then a collapse, then fewer Sith, more refined, then the rise again. The rule of many was supplanted by the rule of two under Darth Bane, who concluded that survival required secrecy and singular focus. But even that mechanism bred its own conflicts. Master versus apprentice, hidden agendas, betrayal as a tool, legacy and hiddenness. The visible chapters of the Sith, the wars, the empires, are dramatic. But perhaps the most dangerous moments occur in quiet tombs, in forgotten vaults, in artifacts waiting for hands bold enough to claim them. The Sith understood that true power is not just in conquest, it's in continuity. The ability to wait, to hide, to prepare in the dark. Rise and fall, and rise again. The Sith's empire fell, their masters died, their public power vanished, yet the ideology survived. The secret order and hidden cults, the unknown regions, the artifacts buried deep. These tell us the story isn't over. It simply changed form. However, with all these answers, we are left with even more questions. What holocrons remain undiscovered? What world holds a Sith temple no one has yet found? Who currently reads the Sith teachings in secret? An apprentice hidden? A cult unborn? Was the end of the Sith Order ever final? Or were they always waiting for the next moment to rise? For the viewer, as you leave this story behind, ask yourself, when you see a ruined pyramid on a remote world, when you hear whispers of Sith artifacts in the unknown regions, when you see someone mention Sith in a tone filled with reverence or fear, remember, this story traverses every corner of the galaxy and every corner of time. The Sith Order may have been defeated, but their shadow lives on. Final thought. The greatest weapon of the Sith was never the lightsaber. It was the idea of darkness, the promise of power hidden in the shadow of time. Whether buried in a tomb, carried by an apprentice, or whispered in a holocron waiting to be opened, that idea persists. So ask yourself, in the silence between the stars, in a world no one watches, could the Sith be rising once more? If you haven't quite been able to drift off yet, try this. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly in and out 3 times. Imagine the red sands of Korriban fading into stars, and let the hush of the Sith's hidden tombs carry you gently into sleep. Thank you for listening. Join me in the next video as we drift off to sleep, learning about the past of Anakin Skywalker and his journey to becoming one of the most decorated villains of all time, the legendary Darth Vader.